Mhm. Hello, Melanie. We're
Hi.
rolling, we're recording, and it looks like we have some.
Yay. Oh,
uh,
can you just give me access to share my screen?
yes, definitely.
Let's
Okay.
wait. Don't add anyone in yet. Let's wait till 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay.
One moment. We got 2 people in the waiting room.
Oh, yay. Yeah, when I went in, I had to register. So that's cool. Do you get the emails or?
I don't get emails when people register, but I can see if I log in.
Okay.
All right.
Is this recording for us or for them?
It is recording for both of us. We can use it and then
Oh, nice.
we can give it. I can edit this part out later. Oh wait, no,
Okay.
I can't. It's going to the cloud. So let's do this.
What's um? let's edit that.
We got 3 people in the room.
You say what you said again with Julie's a manifestation coach who, and just say it so I'll write it down.
A manifestation and business coach, helping people create lives and careers they love. I think people might trickle in throughout, I'm assuming. So I'm going to just keep an eye on the, or
Yeah,
should
yeah.
it automatically let everyone in?
I always just like add people. I don't think it's gonna be like hundreds of people. So you can just like press it. Since I'm controlling the deck, I don't think it'll be that hard.
Okay. Okay. Should we get started? Let's let them in.
Yeah.
Hello, hello. Hi, Emily. Hi, Kim. Hi. Nice to see you.
While we wait for maybe a minute or two for people to come, I'd love to hear, Kim, where are you located?
I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, cool. Are you in an office right now? Are you at a school or
I'm
home?
at school. I'm at school.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. What school?
It's a Catholic school, St. Michael, St. Clement.
Wonderful.
Cool.
And
How about you, Emily? Where are you calling from or dialing in from?
Maybe she'll stay muted.
What's your role, Kim, at the school?
I'm the director for the preschool program and the before and after care program.
Oh, cool.
Wonderful. Okay, should we wait a couple minutes? It looks like it's weird. It looks like some people are in the process of joining, but it's just saying joining.
Yeah, let's give it like a minute,
Okay.
just because then once we start.
Okay.
Do you want? Can you give me access to share too? Oh wait, I have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Christy, got two Christys joining. There we go.
Hello.
Christy, it looked like there were two of you trying to join. Were you joining from a different device as well? Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you
I
can,
guess
I don't know if you can exit the one, but
I think we only see one now. And Christy, where are you calling from?
I am from the Ohio, West Virginia area.
Oh, great. Are you representing a school?
Mhm. Only friend school.
Oh, cool. Oh, I
Cool.
looked that up. I saw when you registered.
Nice.
So.
What is it? What's Only Friends?
We're a independent school, boarding school. We have students from all around the world, and our basically our curriculum is transdisciplinary, problem-based. So, you know, but like any school, we also have social emotional learning with our teenagers. It's a high school, 9 through 12.
And what is
Cool.
your role?
I am a biology teacher and a writing, English language, arts, and also created a program with media so they can do podcasts. And I've been doing a TED Ed student talk curriculum, as well as a bunch of other things. But I also am a curriculum coordinator. So wear many hats.
Yeah, sounds like it. Wow, a TED Ed. Is that helping students like put together a presentation in the style of like a TED? Cool. That's such a fun idea. And I love the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Mel, should we jump in and just as people trickle in and then we can share the recording?
Yeah, because this is recording anyway, so anyone that comes in late or anything can see it. Cool. Well, it's gonna have, and I'm gonna present in a second, but it's kind of a combination of the social emotional learning, the mindset piece, and a little bit of like tactical networking. So just to prepare you all, kind of what's coming. But we'll get into it. And the presentation, I would say, is around 40 minutes. It's interactive and we'll be talking to you, but then we'll kind of come out of it and we can just chat as a group and get any questions that are coming up, if that works for everyone. Sound good? Okay. And Emily, hopefully you can hear us okay. I don't know, maybe you can put in the chat. I just want to make sure your connection's good too. All right, I am going to present. All right, you guys can see this, right? Okay, cool. Here we go. So what if we told you all that the two most important factors to landing a job are rarely taught in high school and most often not even taught in college? Before we get into those factors, we're going to start with a quick introduction. So I'm Melanie, and I'm actually going to take it back to my high school days. So I was a B and C student at best in high school. Always kind of struggled to do well. I got into the 10th college on my list, which I was really excited about, and continued a little bit of struggle. So had a hard time landing internships. And then when it was time to land a job, I could not figure out how to land a job. I was a business major and I just ended up on my home couch in Hawaii, applying for about 100 jobs a day.
Yep. And hi guys, I'm Julia. My story was somewhat similar to Melanie. But in high school, I did all the things that I was supposed to do, joined all the clubs, really worked my butt off, got really great grades, got into my top school. But then once I graduated, I thought I was set up for success and I could not land a job. And it turns out, good grades and hard work alone just didn't do a lot for me in the real world. I ended up getting a job and then getting laid off, got another job, got laid off. Within a year and a half, got laid off 3 times. So here I was out of college into my career, felt like I had a scarlet letter on my resume, like no one would ever want to hire me, let alone a company where I'd actually be excited to work.
All right, so fast forward 15 years, Julia and I actually met working at Twitter back in the old days of Twitter. And Julia, between, around 15, 13 years, had an incredible career combined with Twitter and Google. And what's crazy about Google is it actually has a lower acceptance rate than Harvard. So pretty amazing that she got in there. We worked at Twitter together, but what's most impressive is Julia launched a podcast. So Christy, I think Julia was glowing to hear that you're doing podcasts in the classroom. Julia launched a podcast called Dream Your Life. And, since the beginning, she's done hundreds and hundreds of episodes and now hits the charts internationally in a lot of different categories. On top of that,
100, sorry.
Oh,
yeah.
Less than 100, 80, 80, okay. Just under 100 episodes. Julia also launched a business called Dream Your Life. So Dream Your Life is, she's a manifestation and business coach. So that's what she does professionally. And she helps people create lives and careers that they love, that light them up. All right, so then for me, so I worked at Twitter with Julia. I now work at Apple. I'm a client peer. I manage sports and entertainment in the App Store. But what I'm excited about, and I think the Apple thing just shows, even if you don't have the quote unquote correct path when you're younger, you can still break in and do amazing things. I'm excited to share that I launched a book called Bold, Get Noticed, Get Hired. And I wrote this book when I finally figured out how to land a job, and I wanted to share it with the world. And then over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been, I've started a company called Going Places, where I help young professionals navigate their career.
Okay, so here's a picture of Melanie and myself. We're having fun at work because we do truly love what we do. But the message that we really want to share with you today is that in order to create a career that you love, it isn't about the grades or the classes or the certifications or the experiences. And working hard is obviously very important. But as you heard from both of our stories, hard work alone really doesn't guarantee you a job, let alone a dream one. And for Melanie and myself, and also now the hundreds of people that we've worked through and the thousands of people that we've helped coach across all industries, it really comes down to 2 simple things. And these are the 2 factors that Melanie was alluding to earlier. And it's a strong network, it's the people you know, and a strong mindset. It's the thoughts that you consistently think and the beliefs that you have about yourself and what's possible. And so that is why we created this program. Oh, I'm letting someone in right now. Ready, Mindset, Go. It is a course for high school students that we wish that we had in high school. And we wanted to give you guys just a little bit of context and background on the program itself and what brought us here. But what we really want to do today is share with you the principles that we teach inside of the program, but also the things that have really shaped our own successes and in our own life and lives and careers. So Mel, I'll pass it back over to you and you can talk just a little bit about what's included in the program.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll give a little background and then we'll get into some learnings. But the program was created for high school students. So we actually worked with high school students in the creation of this, which means are, it's a video, it's combined with videos and worksheets. The videos are videos that we know high school students would like, meaning we don't take breaths, it's really quick, it's 5 minutes long, we realize, okay, they're on TikTok all day, they're consuming this media, right? They don't want us, they don't want a 20-minute video, they don't want to sit for an hour behind a screen. We've all been through the pandemic, but we wanted to, our videos are really bringing this course to life. It's Julia and I giving a quick background of what they're about to learn, and then we have a workbook where they do exercises. On top of that, we also have a facilitation guide. So any teacher can take this and bring it to life in the classroom, whether it's an advisory, an entrepreneurship class, an after school program, or a parent could have it and do it with their student while they're on summer break or over winter break. So that's to give you some background of like the format of this program. It's made up of 2 parts, and we're going to get into that: mindset and ready go. Mindset is all about, actually, I don't want to spoil it. We'll talk about that. Okay. Oh, wow. This always happens, but okay. Won't use that Canva for you. Okay. So
Okay.
pass it over
All
to
right.
Julia.
So
to talk about all
here's
the
what you're going to get today, and it probably won't be 40 minutes. We're going to try to get through it quickly. It's a small group here. Melanie is going to kick things off with just sharing some secrets about how hiring actually works today. I'll then talk about the incredible power of mindset and manifestation, and then pass the mic back over to Melanie, and she'll walk through some of the steps of networking, how to get someone to engage with you and do it appropriately for a high school student. And then we'll leave time for some Q&A.
All right. So I'm going to start with a pretty bold statement. If you're not born with a built-in network, you're at a disadvantage, which seems a bit of a bummer, but this is the reality, right? If you want a job somewhere and your parents don't know someone, or your community doesn't have a connection, you're out of luck, and you probably won't get your foot in the door, right? Or you have a way lower chance than someone else that does. And the reason that this is true, the reason that this statement holds true, is because of how hiring actually works. How people, what's the system look like? We think we all have a shot when we're submitting our resumes online, but what's happening behind the curtain? So I'm going to kind of give a little preview of what's happening on the other side after, our combined 15 years in the working, and then we're going to talk about how we can switch this and how we can give the power back to the students. All right, so quickly to go over this, a position becomes open, right? It might be at a school, it might be in a business, whatever it is, someone needs to hire someone. Fair enough. Okay, that we get. Then a manager, so whoever's hiring, right? A lot of times, especially in the business world, that manager is sending an email to people, to their team, to the company, to the department, or maybe it's in the form of like a conversation passing by, right? But it really goes like this: hey, I have an open role on my team. I'm hiring a teacher. I'm hiring, an account executive. Do you have any recommendations for me? Do you have any referrals that you can send my way? And why do people do this? It's because, and you probably all know this, hiring is difficult. Finding someone based on a piece of paper that we've never met before and hoping that they're the right person for the role, that's difficult to do. We think finding a job is hard, hiring is hard. And so they want people with the stamp of approval, someone that they can trust. So what happens is, a lot of times in the business world, and this kind of happens in different ways, there are referrals sent to the manager, right? Whether it's an official referral where you can get, in businesses, you can make money doing this. At Twitter, at Apple, like I can make $5,000, $10,000 if I refer someone and they get hired. So there's this incentive. And whether that incentive is built in or not, it's happening, right? Oh yeah, actually I worked with the teacher at my last school, and here's the, let me get their information. Let me see if they'd be interested. So all of a sudden that manager is being sent referrals, right? And they get this stack of referrals on their desk, people with a stamp of approval. And then those referrals begin interviewing, right? Why wait? If you have someone that you need to hire, why wait until there's, resumes coming in online when you have these candidates who are being passed to you and you trust them? here's the kicker. A lot of times, and it depends on the industry, but that job that manager's hiring for doesn't get posted online. Sometimes weeks later, sometimes days later, sometimes months later in a lot of cases I've experienced. So we have a problem. And that problem is, if you were the person that I described, right, which will, what we all learn, like get good grades, get into the best college, get a good resume, get internships. You do all of these things thinking you have a shot. And then your final step is, I'm going to go online to, Handshake or LinkedIn or some job portal, and I'm going to find a job that I'm qualified for, and I'm going to apply for it. You're behind in two ways. The first is you're now competing against all these people that have applied online. And that's thousands in a lot of cases, hundreds, if not thousands. And so you have to break through the noise, right? And that's actually under 1%. 1% of people actually get their resume seen on the desk and get an interview. Okay, so you break through, it's like, oh no, I've gotten an interview before, but then you're behind in the second way. And that is, you're competing against people who are farther along in the interview process and have a stamp of approval and have been told by this hiring manager that they are a trusted candidate. So if it doesn't already make sense, you need a referral, right? It's really, really important for anyone to have a fighting chance. You need to be recommended to that hiring manager. And the exciting thing is, when you're in college or when you need a job yesterday, you're networking from a different place, right? So I work with a lot of recent college grads. I work with a lot of young professionals. They need a job. They're freaking out. They haven't landed their job. So when they're networking and when they're trying to, really build those connections to get a referral, they need something. But the reason we found this program belongs in high school is because when you're in high school, you don't need anything. You're networking, you're building connections, you're really creating this investment for yourself from a place of wanting to learn, to be inspired, to have a conversation. And that leads to a golden ticket. When high schoolers understand the power of networking and they start building that and they start fostering connections, it's no longer a matter of where you're from, who your parents are, where you're born, whatever it is. It's a matter of you created connections on your own for yourself, and you have given yourself a fighting chance for any job that you potentially want. So I am going to pass it over to Julia to talk about the power of networking and why that's essential before you even start networking. Or sorry, the power of mindset and manifestation, why it's important before you start networking.
Thanks, Mel. And I see Michelle, a new face there. Hi, Michelle. Okay, so have any of you guys heard of the word manifestation? Maybe seen it trending on TikTok. A lot of high schoolers talk about it. We'll get there in a second, but I want to start with just circling back on my story. So we can go to the next slide. This picture right here sort of captures how I felt. So I had been, again, Michelle, in the beginning, we had talked a little bit about our stories post-college. Both of us had struggled majorly to land a job. I actually got laid off 3 times over the course of a year and a half. And I had done all of the things that Melanie had talked about, and I had applied for so many different positions, tried to build my network. But in order to get to where I wanted to be, it felt like this uphill battle. Like I had just this huge mountain that I had to climb, and I had no idea how I would get up. And life felt really hard. I was also surrounded by negativity, and it just sort of, the people around me just cemented this belief that life is hard. And my dreams of working for a big company were probably unrealistic. And then I was introduced to this concept of manifestation, but not in this woo-woo kind of spiritual sense, really in this idea that what you focus on, what you believe is possible, you can make happen through inspired action. And what I needed to do at that point in my life was really remove myself from the negativity around me, become hyper aware of my thought patterns that were really dictating my behaviors, and then work through the limiting beliefs that I had about myself that were really holding me back from what I truly wanted. And then finally, to just start taking action from a place of feeling good and feeling inspired. And when I learned about conscious manifestation, I decided I am going to get a job at Google. To me, as a 24-year-old at that point, I just thought that that was exactly the type of company that I wanted to work for. I wanted to collaborate. I wanted to be around smart people. I wanted to work on exciting projects. The perks, just the excitement and the culture of being there felt so aligned with where I was. And 3 months later, I had my offer. And you're probably thinking, okay, how is this possible? You had no experience. You were laid off 3 times. And this is what we're going to talk about today, but it really was a combination of this positive thinking, this positive focus, and of this consistent, persistent action, but also a belief that I had about myself and a belief that my goal was not only possible, that I was going to achieve it. And we can go to the next slide, but I just want to point out once again that manifestation, the way that we think about it, it's not, this, what you're seeing on TikTok, maybe, I wasn't sitting in a room, lighting some incense, willing this job into existence. Manifestation is about deliberately choosing to change your thoughts and behavior to support what you want to achieve, to declare what you want and to focus on it. And then to start knocking on doors, doing everything you can from where you are to really make your dream or your goal a reality. I love this quote by Henry Ford. Has any of you guys seen this? We know Henry Ford revolutionized the auto industry, and he said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. Landing a job for me at Google, that was just one example of how the power of mindset and manifestation can work, but we can all tap into the power of our thoughts and focus and belief. And this isn't just based on my own experience, obviously. In fact, Harvard recently did a study on the expectancy effect. And basically, they found that when someone expects a given result, that expectation will unconsciously affect the outcome. So this whole idea of you get what you expect, right? Things become this self-fulfilling prophecy. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so I started my podcast. It was sort of like a passion project because I was so wanted to share what I knew and learned about the power of manifestation with the world because of how profoundly these tools had impacted not just my career, but all areas of my life, from even meeting my husband to my kids to where we live and all these things. I really did use this whole idea of focus and belief and moving towards things with inspired action. And so I started my podcast. It now spans over 50 countries. It's hit the charts in countries around the world. And I've interviewed dozens of men and women from around the world who have used manifestation and mindset principles to completely transform their lives, to overcome childhood traumas, overcome anxiety and depression, find love, build 6- and 7-figure businesses, and so much more. I just want to share maybe one example here, but we have, we can go back. There's Say on the top left here. Oh, I think we forgot a couple slides, but Say actually was one of the first people who listened to my podcast, and she reached out to me and was like, Julia, I have this dream of becoming a plus size model, but she had severe body image issues and she really had no kind of social media presence at this time. And she said, I'm going to really practice manifestation. She bought a bunch of books. She started listening to podcasts and really working through her own limiting beliefs, but staying so focused on her vision and her goal. And what has been so cool is for me to sort of follow along her own journey. And just a couple of months ago, she's not only now shooting for brands all over the world. She's traveling. She is a plus size model. She's now on the cover of the Nike app. This all happened in less than 2 years. And it's pretty incredible, but still, it's just, to me, it's just a testament to how powerful our minds really are and how powerful this concept really is. And I could share lots of other stories, but for another day. So I want to just talk about manifestation now as, okay, someone else is running in. Give you kind of a quick process of how you can consciously manifest something in your life, and really thinking about this as a framework for your mindset, and something that students can think about as well, not just for their careers or these big things, but even for smaller things that they want to make happen in their lives and goals that they have. The process is simple. There's really just these 3 steps. You might have heard of them before. Maybe you've heard of the book, The Secret, which outlines them too. But the first step is simply to get clear on what you want and why you want it, how you want to feel. And ironically enough, this step feels like it should be the simplest, right? Just like ask for what you want, but it's usually the one that trips people up the most. I know that when I graduated college, and I talked about this a little bit, but I think one of the things that really held me back is I just did not have a clear picture of what I wanted. I just kind of assumed things would work out. And it turns out you can't consciously manifest something that you don't ask for or think about. So for all of us right now, and just to make this a little bit engaging, maybe you think about one thing in your life, anything tangible, like moving to a new home or going on, I don't know, that dream vacation, or maybe it's something intangible, like fostering a deeper connection with a family member, or cultivating confidence in yourself. Just one thing, one goal that you have. Or it could even be a fitness goal. And I just want you to close your eyes and think about it. Think about one thing that you want. And really think about putting yourself in the future after this has been achieved and how you want to feel. What is accomplishing this thing going to make you feel? Because that's really what it's about. And usually what we do when we work with students is we write this down. We don't have to do this today unless you want to, but you write your goal down and you write it in the present tense. So for example, you would write, I am healthy and in the best shape of my life, or I live in a home that I love by the water, or whatever. High school students can say something like, I am confident and working as an intern at a company that I really admire, or I'm a starting player on my high school basketball team. Mel, why don't you just give us an example of something for you?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. So Julia and I are going to Hawaii in April, and we wrote a curriculum outside of this for high school students, and I want, my visualization is we're meeting with the governor. So I've been kind of working with the assistant to get a meeting with the governor, and I visualize this meeting with the governor.
I love it. I love it. So I'm going to be meeting with the governor of Hawaii. And why do you want it? What's the feeling behind that?
Just like really selling these principles through to the very top of the education system in Hawaii and having it trickle down. So I want the governor to buy into what we're doing with Writing Mindset Go, but also with some of this other curriculum we're writing, and to buy into this thing that students need this in their life, and this is going to make everyone more successful.
Okay. So I would say really attached to that feeling of what it's going to be like to meet with him and why you want to do it, because you want to bring this program to students because you want them to be more successful and create careers that they really love. Okay, so that's step 1, which is ask. Step 2 is believe. Just like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. So in order to when you have a goal, you really have to understand, how can I believe that this is possible? And so, for example, with the belief that you just had, I think we lost a few people, but this will be recorded. Why can't you have that, right? So any goal that you're focusing on, you have to ask yourself, well, why wouldn't it be possible? Any reason that comes up for you is a limiting belief, because any dream that you have for yourself is possible. So this step of believing is really about reframing those limiting beliefs into statements that align with your goal. So we do this by reframing our limiting beliefs into empowering affirmations that we continue to tell ourselves. So I'll just give a quick example, but when I wanted the job at Google, I was flooded with limiting beliefs, just one of which was Google will never hire me because I had just been laid off 3 times. So how I would reframe this into a positive statement would be something like, Google hires talent and potential, not just people for their experience, or an affirmation like, my story makes me stronger, or my story shows my resilience, or simply an affirmation like, I am confident and determined, and what I put my mind to, I can achieve. And the key here in reframing your limiting beliefs is to come up with a statement or an affirmation that you can really latch onto, that feels good, because this is the new belief that's going to replace the old faulty limiting one. And what happens is that with repetition, your new belief will propel you forward and toward your vision. And this happens on a scientific brain level, brain chemistry level. And there have been hundreds of thousands of experiments that show how powerful this is. And this is so powerful for high school students too. So many high school students have these limiting beliefs. And if they can first become aware of them and then start to reframe them and tell themselves these affirmations, these empowering new statements that are in line with what their goals are, they're going to see huge shifts in their lives. So I think all of us can do this. I think, again, we lost a few people, but you think about your dream, you think about all the reasons you can't have that, you take those reasons and you reframe them into empowering beliefs that you can latch onto. Usually we do this a little bit more interactively, but we'll just move on to the next.
And Julia, I'll say this, like I was just on Julia's podcast and we talked about this, but for me, this is the hardest piece of manifesting, is actually believing for myself. And we were saying this, once most people can actually wrap their head around believing that they can be successful in whatever they're, going after, it usually does happen. But that's the hardest part, right? For me, at least, is saying, okay, I'm going to meet with the governor, and then actually in my mind, convincing myself that this is going to happen. So this is where I find the most challenge. You were saying some people get tripped up in the ask as well. Yeah, it's, and actually I'll say one more thing. The believe is why, like, this was a main part of why we really felt that in order to network and have the second part of Ready Mindset Go, a student actually had to believe that they could have a career that they wanted, that they could have a job that they wanted. Like, this was so important. And you can't even start networking until a student can wrap their head around believing that they can be whatever they want to be when they're, done with high school or college. So I'm a big believer.
Yes, love it. Okay, and then we've got step 3. So once you do believe, which again, Mel, I mean, I think you're right. Believe is a big part of it for a lot of people, but this step is really important too, which is really about your attitude, right? When it's kind of where, if you read like a book like The Secret, this is where the law of attraction comes into play. Pure and simple, when you feel good, you attract good things into your life. And positive thoughts and feelings bring positivity in your life. Like, think about when you're doing things that you love, when you feel most alive, when you feel energized, and when you feel good about yourself and what you're doing, you start to, the opportunities start to come. And the opposite is true too. Like, when it rains, it pours. So I think when we think about this in terms of the high schooler, it's kind of no surprise when the negative Nelly who's always blaming everyone and gets stressed out and goes into a test with that kind of attitude might get a poor grade. Whereas the person with the can-do, upbeat, positive attitude tends to be the lucky one, right? Or do well. So, but really, what is the key to feeling positive and happy? And I think one of the most powerful ways to do this is through gratitude. Feeling appreciation for what you have. While I think when we think of like complaining attracts much more like things to complain about. Being grateful attracts things to be grateful for. So, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have a gratitude practice, but I love to start my day with just 3 things that I'm grateful for. It could be as simple as a cup of hot coffee, or the health of my kids, or, you know, a nice compliment someone shared, anything. Starting a day like that and then incorporating gratitude throughout the day, especially in high school when we have so many stressors, so many pressures, so much with social media, really tuning into our energy and focusing on the things that we're grateful for can be immensely powerful when it comes to our goals and attracting and moving towards those. So I'm just want to repeat what I said before, which is just positive things and feelings bring positivity into your life. So again, in high school, really, it's about your mindset and it's about your attitude. Focus on things that you know make you feel good and distance yourself from toxic people and toxic situations. And as much as you can, shift your thoughts from negativity to thoughts that are more positive. Okay, so we'll quickly go over these 3 steps. We have ask, which is really getting clear on the vision and the goal, what you want. You then have to believe that it's possible, working through your limiting beliefs, receiving, focusing on the positive, feeling good. And then there's one last step that I don't think is talked about enough, but in my opinion, Mel, this is the one that's the most important of all. And that is to take action, to knock on doors and do everything you can from where you are to move towards your dream. Talk to people, read books, enroll in courses, put yourself out there, take risks, take action, because nothing is going to happen if you just sit there waiting for it. You can ask, believe, and, you know, be ready to receive all day, but if you're not moving towards that thing, it's not going to happen. So what we just covered, it may seem really intuitive, like it also may really seem so simple, but it really is incredibly powerful when you put it into practice. And again, to reiterate, this isn't just about achieving goals. That's part of it. But this framework is really a framework for achieving happiness, feeling good about yourself, of continuously up-leveling and improving as a human being. And so we're ending with action because this is a good segue into what Melanie is going to share. And Mel, I feel like you should give some context into just the survey results that you got from high schoolers.
Yeah, for sure. So I talked about my company going places. I didn't give a lot of background there, but I had launched a Get Hired course about 4 years ago, and that was for college students. And it was everything you needed to land a job. Well, during the pandemic, high schools around the world wanted this course. They were like, hey, by the way, in high school, we get internships now. And I was like, that's news to me, because in high school, I didn't even think about an internship, but apparently things have shifted a bit. And so I had these high schools around the world using my Get Hired course in the classroom. And these students were learning about networking, and they were learning about, you know, talking to professionals and why it's important. And about 2 years in, so, you know, 2022, really the beginning, I went through every survey result. Every time I had a student taking my course, I had them do a survey, and there were thousands of surveys. And I just took some time and I went through it, and I was finding these reoccurring themes every single, you know, over and over again. Melanie, I'm so excited to network, but who am I supposed to network with? And Melanie, who, you know, great, but I don't believe I can do the things that I'm thinking about. Like, no one in my family's ever graduated from high school before. No one's graduated from college. How am I supposed to become a lawyer? Like, I don't believe I can do that. or I don't know, how am I supposed to know what I want to do for my life? So I realized I created a college program, a young professional program. I didn't create a high school program. And so there was these missing pieces, these pieces of discovering yourself, of believing in yourself, of feeling confident to network with people. And I knew if I was going to work with more high schools, that needed to be in the program. And so that's actually when I approached Julia and I said, hey, I see what you're doing from a manifestation standpoint with, professionals well into their career, 20 years into their career. What are your thoughts on doing this for high school students and creating the first half of the program that can lead into networking and lead into career thoughts and, success and all that? So that's really where we came together. And that's why we put the believe, the mindset, the manifestation in the beginning, and then we move it into networking and taking action. So that context hopefully will help as we're talking about networking 101. So I'm about to give you all a really quick crash course. I just did a presentation yesterday and spent 45 minutes just on this. So we're going to spend about 10 minutes just on this piece. And hopefully you walk away, even for yourself. I mean, I work with professionals into their career. This is all the same. All right. So we're going to highlight 3 steps to networking successfully. When you're in high school, when you're in college, when you're a professional, it's really down to these 3 things. Finding your people. You could be the best networker, but if you're not networking with anyone, you're not really networking, right? If no one sees your message. About communicating. How do you get someone who doesn't know you to want to answer your email, to want to respond to you and actually help you? That takes strategy. And then the third is knowing what you want to get out of every conversation. Anytime you're having a networking conversation, this is something you have to think about if you want to be a successful networker. So we're going to highlight each of those things. Find your people. Finding your people, like I said, is about where will someone see my message? If I want to get in touch with someone from Nike, where will they see me? Right? Well, if I write the best message in the whole world, will it be visible to them? And that's something we have to think about. And the good news is we have a lot of channels to play with, right? Especially in high school. Like they're using these social media channels. They know it better than we do. People are on those channels, right? So it doesn't always have to be your standard email or LinkedIn, which we'll talk about today, but maybe they network on Twitter or on, Instagram or TikTok or Be Real or whatever social medias are being created that I don't know about. It's all fair game. And the goal is, where will they see us? And I always tell people this, when I'm presenting, I was just at a conference with 400 people and did the keynote. And what happens is I get 400 emails after, 400 LinkedIn messages. And I'm like, hey guys, just so you know, I get 1,000 emails a day and I usually get 20 to 25 LinkedIn messages a day. But when I present at a conference, a lot more. So I might not see your message right away if you message me on LinkedIn. But guess what? My going places Instagram doesn't get a lot of love sometimes, doesn't get a lot of DMs. So you can always DM me and tell me, your thoughts on the presentation or ask me a question. And sometimes I'm quicker there, right? So it's actually thinking about where are these people present? It takes some time. And then I always tell people, don't be afraid, especially as a high school student, you don't want to bother people. Don't be afraid to hit people up on 2 platforms and 2 channels, right? Maybe send them a LinkedIn message, but then you see that they're always tweeting or they're always posting on Instagram. So maybe you send them a message on those places or tweet at them and say, hey, I just sent you a LinkedIn message. Check your LinkedIn. I'd love to chat. That has worked for me so many times. And I don't want people to be afraid to be kind of annoying sometimes. It's okay. But we talk a lot about LinkedIn. So in Ready Mindset Go, in the strategies I'm going to talk about today, we really highlight LinkedIn because I think I saw a stat, there's 900 million professionals on LinkedIn, some crazy number, right? And for me, especially for a high school student, it's a great vehicle for connecting. There's people there, there's professionals, they see your message. It's a great place to actually network. Someone, okay. All right. So once you find your people, right? Once we figure out where are these people, now it's about how are we going to get these people to respond to us? And it takes a few tries. You're not going to get a response every time you network. I'd say it's probably every 30 to 50 people you get one response. But it's about communicating strategically. It's about thinking about what would get me to respond if I was busy in my day? And so I really, break it down to three real steps in communicating. Do you mind, Julia, just muting everyone? That's just so we don't get background noise. Okay. All right. The first step is leverage your alumni network or find common ground. So it's important. Humans want to help humans, right? It's just human nature to want to help someone that you feel something in common with. And so with that, while we're networking, it's important to find something in common with the person, right? Whether it's your high school alumni, which we really encourage all high schoolers to, sign up for on LinkedIn and be a part of the group on LinkedIn. But it could be like a sport or a hometown, or it could be anything. Find something in common with someone. You're more likely to get a response. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be a love for a sport, a love for an art, do some research and find something in common. All right, the second is do not ask for anything but a little bit of their time. And this is where most young people, even well into their career, mess up networking. We're all busy, right? We all have a million things to do in a day. The last thing we want to do is do work for someone that we don't know. We barely even want to do work for people we do know, right? So when someone comes in, with a message and says, hey, will you refer me? Or, will you do this for me? Will you do that? It's off-putting, right? No, I'm not going to do extra work for someone I don't know. So it's important. This is such a great skill for high school students to really think about, doing research. All they're asking for is a little bit of their time to talk about that person, to talk about them. And that goes into step 3. Use flattery, but be genuine, right? Something like, I get a lot of requests on LinkedIn working at a big company, and they'll say, hey, Melanie, will you refer me to the job? Will you do this? Will you do that? But then once in a blue moon, I get a message on LinkedIn or an email, and it's like, hey, Melanie, wow, I saw your article in Forbes, and I read some of your book, and wow, XYZ really resonated with me. I'm so impressed with your career. Could I get 20 minutes of your time to talk about you? That feels different for me, right? That feels like, wow, someone took the time to do a little research on me, to actually look at what I've done, to read it, to tell me what resonated with them. Yes, if I have 20 minutes, that's the person that I'm going to give the time to. And what's so amazing for high school students is they really have nothing else to do except for be inspired and ask about this, right? They don't need an internship. They don't need a job, but they are interested, right? To be interested is to be interesting. Be interested, do research, show them that you're excited to chat with them. And this is what I tell everybody. If someone agrees to have a conversation with you, if it's not on the calendar, it's not happening. And if we can get high schoolers understanding, how the mechanics work for professionals, right? Everything is on our calendar. Oh, I have a meeting, I'm doing a social event. So if a professional agrees to have a conversation with a high school student, that high school student needs to send them a calendar invite. And we teach that in our course. One, it shows initiative. What high school student is sending a calendar invite, right? Boom, you're already separating yourself. But 2, it guarantees that you're not going to get stood up on that day, right? It's on their calendar. And then beyond that, we really teach high school students this theme of never letting people do work if you want something, right? So it's really doing all the heavy lifting, which means if you're sending a calendar invite, send the Zoom link, send the meeting location, send the phone number. Don't make them have to go and look for that, right? We're always going to serve it on a silver platter, because that's how we're going to get the things we want in life. And that's what I teach people well into their career. All right, so once you get someone on to agree to a call and you're excited to chat with them, it's important to know your ask. And as a high school student, your ask is not always super straightforward, right? Like, you're in high school, even when you're in college or you're a professional, it's not always straightforward. Maybe you want an internship, maybe you want a position, maybe you want an informational interview, maybe you want a mentor, maybe it's an introduction to someone else at the company. Again, no matter what, we never make people do work. So If you want an introduction, let's say you talk to Jerry in finance at a cool company, but you want to talk to someone on the marketing team, get to know more people at the company. Your ask is, hey, if I craft up an introduction, if I write an intro in third person and email it to you, could you forward it to someone on the marketing team? Right? We're not making them do work. If you want an internship or a position, what goes into that? Let me give you everything you need to submit my application. If you want a mentor, which a lot of people do, you're not asking someone to be your mentor. That sounds like a lot of responsibility, right? Instead, you're saying, hey, can we keep in touch? Can I reach out to you every 6 months? Can I reach out to you every year? And guess what? If you're reaching out and adding value and getting on calls and meeting up with this person, after 3 years, they are your mentor. You didn't even have to ask them that, right? So it's about how can we do all the work to get the things we want. So in conclusion, really, really high level, it's about 3 steps. Figuring out where people will see you, communicating strategically, and knowing what you want out of that conversation. So I'm going to share just the quickest story. This was me. I wanted to work at ESPN. I don't know why I wanted to work at ESPN, but when I graduated from college, I played a sport and I was a business major. And so I really thought this was the only company I would be happy at. And that's part of my inspiration of creating Ready Mindset Go, because we want students to talk to people at companies and find out what they do, because it's not always about the name, right? It's not just, hey, I want to work at this cool thing. It's really, what are they doing and what do you love and how does that match up? Anyways, I was stuck, right? This was 12 years ago, 13 years ago. And I was applying to 100 jobs a day. I was in Hawaii on my couch, just going crazy. Probably applying for positions like VP or something, because I didn't even know what I was qualified for. So anyways, actually, let me say this first. I spent 4 months not getting one response from a human. It was all automated. And finally, I switched up my technique and I, got on LinkedIn. And after a bunch of messages, a marketing manager at ESPN got in touch with me and said, hey, Melanie, I'm happy to jump on a 5-minute call. So I got on the call and he said, listen, I'm just going to tell you, your resume has never been seen. I'm just going to say that flat out. We get thousands of applicants for entry-level roles every day for these positions. The only chance you have of getting an interview at ESPN is if someone refers you. That was a big wake-up call for me, because I didn't learn that in high school or in college. This was the first time I was hearing that. And it was, I wouldn't have spent 4 months applying if I knew that this was true. Right. And he was like, and by the way, Melanie, I don't really know you. So yeah, I'm not going to be referring you, but hopefully good luck. So I thought to myself and I said, all right, I want this. I need to find someone at the very top. I need to connect with someone and I need to get them to refer me. So I found this guy. I'm just curious, does anyone know who this is? He's not really on ESPN as much anymore. But anyways, this is Neil Everett. He was a sportscaster. And the beauty was he lived in Hawaii for 10 years. And I did all this research and I found him and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm from Hawaii. He lived in Hawaii. Boom, common ground, right? I'm going to send Neil Everett an email and I'm going to get him to refer me. So that's what I did. I sent him this heartfelt email. You can see in 2012, I used commonality. I used flattery, but we had a problem. He was so private. I couldn't find his email address. And it's not like today where you can look it up. This was 2012. There was no system of doing that. So I put 25 different email addresses on this email and I sent it out and I was like, all right, hopefully one of these is his email address, right? Neil.Everett@ESPN, Neil Everett, you get it. And then a month later, I had a missed call and voicemail and it was like, hello, Melanie, this is Neil Everett's voice calling you. He literally said that on the voicemail and I should have somehow kept it, but it was an iPhone that doesn't work anymore. So he called me and I got on a call back with him and, he's like, how did you meet me? I'm like, don't worry about it, Neil. And we talked and I asked really good questions and we had a great conversation. And at the end of that conversation, he's like, Melanie, what's going on? What can I help you with? What's happening? And I was like, Neil, I need you to get me an interview at ESPN. And of course, we teach students to do this a lot more eloquently now, but I was desperate. And his response was, yeah, Melanie, you'll have an interview tomorrow. No problem. And I was like, what? That's how this thing works? And sure enough, 20 minutes later, I kid you not, I hung up. I got an email from Mary in HR and she said, Melanie, we came across your resume for the marketing coordinator role. We'd love for you to interview. We think you'd be a great fit. Like, yeah, Mary, did you see the 1,000 other resumes that I had sent through? Or, now you're seeing me. And that changed everything for me, because at the end of the day, I was sitting there. I was the exact same person, right? I had the same credentials. All that changed was I knew someone, and that someone vouched for me within the company. And that was the difference of me getting an interview. No one ever asked me where I went to college. No one asked me really for my resume. No one asked me what my grades were. I bypassed the entire line because someone referred me to the position. That's why I wrote my book. That's why I teach this to students, because I'm like, hey, by the way, this should be a class in high school. This should be a class in college. If this is the difference of getting a job, we should be learning how to do this. But I share this story about Neil because it didn't stop when I hung up the phone with him. I actually, when I was writing my book, Bold, Get Noticed, Get Hired, I realized, and I did some more research, he had this crazy story of how he landed a job at ESPN. And so after a lot of emails and calls with him, I convinced him to do an interview on the stage of Sports Center for my book. And that's us on the left. That was 8 years ago. And there I am interviewing Neil, flew to LA, did this whole thing. It was amazing. And I was, thought it was the coolest thing in the whole world. But again, it didn't end there, right? And this is what we teach high school students. You have a great conversation with someone, and guess what? They're going to get in touch with people at the very top. No one in high school emails people at the very top, right? And people well into their career, successful people, they love that. So they're going to get in touch with people that we can't get in touch with. And they're going to have a conversation, and it doesn't end there. We can't let it end there. The picture on my right is 7 years later from the picture on my left. I talk to Neil twice a year now, and he calls me now, and he'll be like, Melanie, how can we get Ready Mindset go into Oregon, and how can we get Going Places into the Oregon College? Like, he wants to work with me now. And that's the beauty of building relationships over time, right? And that's a big part of our program. How do you cultivate relationships? How do you not let it end when you hang up the phone? Because that is your golden ticket. The people you surround yourself, your network is your net worth. And it's important that high school students know how to maintain those relationships. Because now, Neil's coming to my wedding. I'm getting married in May, and he's coming. That is the relationship we've built over time. And so if it wasn't obvious, in order to create a career that you love, actually be fulfilled in your life, right? All the work that we do, we pay all this money to go to high school and college, and then, we invest all this time, yet do we spend time thinking about getting a career you love? There's two important factors to that we need to invest in, right? We need to put time and energy in this. Starting in high school, we need a strong network and we need a strong mindset. And it's so important for high schools to understand that. All right, so this is our last slide. I just want to, put this information out there in case you guys want it. So our website is mindset-go.com, and we can share this. I think you probably have our email if you signed up for this. And this is Julia's email. I just wanted to throw it up there. If you ever want to chat with us, or if you have questions, or you think this would be a good fit for your school, send us an email, and we'd love to hop on a call and talk to anyone that you think would be a good person to talk to. That is it. And let me do a quick time check. Oh, wow. So we're at 8. Sorry, this took a little longer than we thought, but we're happy to stay on for, 5 minutes if you guys want. I should have left a little more time. We got a little talkative on there. But yeah, we'd love to hear. We have just a small group here, so we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have questions, did this resonate? I'll mute myself for a second, so I'm not.
Okay, looks like no questions, but you have our contact information. We'd love to, again, as Melanie said, chat further if this is something that you're interested in bringing to your school. I think, I don't know about you, Emily, but I know, Christy, that you work at a high school. So, and I know that you've mentioned you you do the curriculum. So if you think that there could be a spot for this, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, Julia and Melanie, thank you so much. This is amazing. I apologize, I've been pretty glitchy. So I will reach out and hopefully incorporate this program. I think seniors especially would appreciate this program for their endeavors.
Awesome. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you,
Amazing.
Christy. Thank you so much. And thanks, Emily, for staying on. We'll talk to you guys
Yeah, it
soon.
was so great to talk with you all. All right, we'll be in touch.
Yeah. Bye.